Billy White is a 38-year-old insurance salesman with a wife too mentally ill to care for their 4 children. Thank God for his neighbor, Sylvia Ipock. She's just so sweet, so gracious, and she's always willing to lend a helping hand.
She's a very neat, meticulous woman, and she sees that she could be of use to him.
Sylvia lives just down the street in Kinston, North Carolina. The widow has a family of her own, a teenage son from her first marriage, and 2 younger boys with a second husband, Leslie Ipock, who died tragically 3 years earlier. According to Sylvia, Leslie had grown suicidal over troubles in their marriage.
She comes home, and Leslie Ipock is locked himself up in the room. Then she opens the door, and she finds him there with his head blown open, the gun in his left hand, though he was right-handed.
To this day, his death is listed as a suicide, but there are still occasional whispers around town about Mr. Ipock's sudden demise.
They didn't have a lot of forensics, they didn't have the knowledge that we have today, and it was just kind of washed under the table.
For Billy White, vivacious Sylvia is a breath of fresh air, not at all like his long-suffering wife.
Well, my mom had been sick off and on, and she was finally taken to an institution where she stayed forever after that.
Sylvia Ipock might have seemed like an angel sent from heaven to a guy like Billy White, but look out. Neighbor of the Year has already gone through 2 husbands, one by divorce, the other by a sudden and violent death. Now, she's set her sights on a 3rd new man.
She brings hot meals to the kids. She organizes his house. She does their laundry. She just basically puts herself in a position where he would be crazy to walk away from her.
There he was, a 30-some-year-old man with 4 children and nobody there to help him or be with him.
With his wife institutionalized for good, Billy files for divorce and quickly marries Sylvia.
They got married, very quiet wedding, no big la-ta-da thing, wasn't a big to-do. They just simply merged their families together.
But Sylvia's charms disappear immediately, and she makes sure the new blended family is no Brady Bunch.
I could tell right away real quickly that it wasn't gonna be fun. Sylvia gave her kids a whole lot better preferential treatment. There was a pantry in the kitchen, and one side had Frosted Flakes and Rice Krispies and Pop-Tarts and Jif peanut butter and Smucker's jelly, and on the other side it was generic peanut butter, off-brand Pop-Tarts, and I couldn't eat out of that cabinet, and they weren't supposed to eat out of mine.
Blinded by his love for Sylvia, Billy doesn't seem to notice the plight of his children.
And they complained to their father about it. You know, hey, this isn't fair. And, you know, Billy, he wanted to keep peace. He would, you know, toss a few bucks the kids' way, say, hey, go buy whatever you need. Just, you know, let's not make a big deal out of this. But they were very, very mistreated by Sylvia.
Meantime, Billy's insurance business has never looked brighter. All the better for Sylvia.
Oh, Sylvia loved being Mrs. Billy White. I mean, she got to go to all the charity functions with him, and she got to meet all the other big wigs in town and the white-collar people, and I think that was part of her facade she was putting on.
A facade that's hiding many of Mrs. White's dark secrets, including her appetite for other men. Billy never learns about Sylvia's infidelities, but 2 years into the high life, tragedy strikes. 4-year-old Billy White Jr. is rushed to the ER after choking on a large piece of plastic.
Sylvia, she's just, help him, help him. He can't breathe, he can't breathe. I've tried to take the plastic out of his mouth. They get him to the hospital where he is pronounced dead. The family is devastated.
And yet Sylvia's mourning period is suspiciously short-lived, as little Stephen quickly sees.
The next morning, she came in mine and little Bill's bedroom, and she said, "You need to get all his stuff, put it in the box, and get everything out. I don't want it in the room anymore." And I said, he ain't been buried yet. He just died yesterday." She said, "Get over it. He's already dead. Ain't nothing to do, you know."
Stephen vows to keep clear of his evil stepmother, but when he's 16, the tension between them comes to a head.
She said, "Every time I ask you something, all you do is tell me lies, lies, lies. You ain't nothing but a little lying there mother." And I said, "I ain't got to take this from you." So I turned to walk away, and she grabbed my shoulder, and she turned me around, and I hit her right in the jaw. Knocked her out, and she slid down the wall.
The boy is sent packing for good. Years pass and Billy's insurance business continues to thrive, but the marriage is on a downward spiral. And Sylvia's sex life is being whispered about all over town. By 1990, the marriage is hanging by a thread. Sylvia wants out, but not without Billy's money.
She doesn't want to go through a nasty divorce and split up the property and split up the business. She wants it all or nothing.
And soon, Sylvia's ready to make her move. In 1991, Sylvia White is sick and tired of her hubby number 3, Billy White, and starts plotting a way to get rid of him so she can cash in on his $200,000 life insurance policy. At first, she tries to do it herself.
She went to the library and got a book of plants that are native to North Carolina, and they're poisonous, and she boiled them in water and made a tea and had him drink this. It didn't work. It didn't kill him.
Poor Billy White really has lousy luck with wives. First, a woman debilitated with mental illness. Then, a sociopath who's now hell-bent on knocking him off. She's going to see her plan through, but now she wants somebody else to do the dirty work.
Sylvia White is an evil bitch. She wants her husband dead. She just doesn't want to dirty her own hands to do it. So Sylvia, being Sylvia White, wants to hire someone to kill her husband.
Sylvia asks one of her sons to find a handyman to do some work around the house. That's when James Linwood Taylor comes into Sylvia's life.
Linwood did some carpentry work. Probably not very successful in life as far as making money, but he was married, had a life, and was able to, got a low vibe. Most people seem to like him.
Taylor shows up at the White homestead ready to work until he hears what the real job is.
Sylvia introduces herself, and she's no more said, "I'm Sylvia White." And then the next words out of her mouth were, "I need you to kill my husband." James Linwood Taylor was floored.
She offers him some money and a car to do the deed, but Taylor refuses. Never one to take no for an answer, Sylvia hounds the handyman for 9 months.
Sylvia White did not appear to have any conscience whatsoever. Attempting to have Billy White Sr. killed, she was looking at potentially a significant amount of money.
Finally, in December 1991, Sylvia makes Taylor an offer he can't refuse. 20 grand from her husband's life insurance policy. Still, the handyman isn't comfortable doing the dirty deed himself.
He went to his uncle, Ernest Baisden, and says, "Hey, I know how we can make some quick money."
Ernest Baisden is a degenerate who's always broke. Taylor offers him a measly $300 to actually pull the trigger.
Mr. Baisden thought it was a joke. you're crazy not doing it. I think later on in January, Mr. Baisden was strapped for money in a financial tight, and he said, hey, great, I'll do it.
Now that's just plain pathetic. $300 to take a man's life? But when your moral compass is cracked and you're only looking out for yourself, I guess you're willing to do some very sinful things for a quick buck. Strange thing is, for a couple of cheap amateur hitmen, Taylor and Baisden took their job pretty seriously.
Sylvia comes up with a plan. She tells James Linwood Taylor that her husband is greedy and he will do anything to sell an insurance policy.
She had given him a name to use, which was Tim Connors. He was to tell Mr. White over the phone that he was buying a large farm